So, good morning, friends. Today we have discussed the design of column and its footing, specifically subjected to the biaxial moment and the axial load. Now, in the first lecture, we have discussed the theory and the design part of the simple footing, that is the pad footing, and then column subjected to axial load with uniaxial bending and the design of footing for the same. Now, design of biaxial column, as we know that due to the monolithic construction of column with beam in two different directions, such column is subjected to biaxial bending along with the axial compression. For example, in case of the corner column, there are two beams and that's why there is a moment in the orthogonal direction which is not balanced. This occur in corner column or column with the uneven span or load into adjacent span. The neutral axis will be inclined to the cross section due to the application of design load PU, axial load, maximum bending moment MUX, that is the design moment along x direction, design moment along the y direction, which we have observed in the figure. Then column interaction diagram. Using this column interaction diagram, we can find out the steel provided in the column once we assume the cross section of the column. It gives the strength envelope for the reinforced concrete section subjected to combination of axial load and moment. Points outside this diagram represent failure of the column. Now we have already discussed this diagram in the second lecture, but again we have discussed same thing. If the column subjected to the pure load, actually none of the column is subjected to the pure axial load, and that's why IS suggests even though the column is axial, we have designed with minimum eccentricity. So if the load column is purely axial, then the failure is compression, purely compression. But if it is increased, that means with certain eccentricity or moment, then the failure is definitely compression side, but not fully in compression, partly tension is there. That is the buckling of the column. This is the point B where there is a balance failure. Balance failure means we can say that the column subjected to axial load with the moment, and because of the moment it will fail on tension side, and due to the compression load it will fail on the compression side, and so this is called as the balance failure. But at point A, column behave as a beam. That means failure is only due to the tension failure, and that's why this is called as the interaction diagram. This diagram indicate on x-axis we have considered the moment non-dimensional parameter mu fck bd square, and this is the pu by fck bd along the y-axis. And once we know this, using the special publication of BIS SP16, we can find out the percentage of steel provided. Now this is the column subjected to the biaxial bending. Now we have considered this is the x-axis bisecting the depth of the column, and this is the y-axis bisecting the width of the column. So this is the load which is not developed at point O, it is somewhere here, and this distance perpendicular to the y-axis, that is the EY, and this distance perpendicular to the x-axis, that is the EX. And that's why pu multiplied by ex, that is the MUX, and pu multiplied by EY, that gives the MUY. And that's why this is the column subjected to the axial load with the moment along y-axis and moment along the x-axis, that is bisecting the depth and bisecting the width. And such, it is very difficult to design such column. Now this is the diagram which shows the behavior of the column subjected to the biaxial moment. Here, if there are different cases, we have considered the 6 cases. If only PUZ, that is the column subjected to purely axial load, no moment along x direction, no moment along the y direction, in that case this is the behavior. And if we have considered PU is 0, which is not possible, but if the load is 0 and moment is there, only MUX is 0, MUX is there, MUY is 0 and PU is 0, then the behavior of the column is again different. In third case, we have considered Pu is 0, MUX is 0, only MUY is there. And for the different combination, Pu is there, MUX is 0, MUY is 0. Then Pu is there, MUX 0, MUY is there. Or we can say that MUX is there and MUY is there. These are the different cases, and on the basis of different cases, this is the behavior of the column, biaxial column, which is very complex. So instead of using this complexity, we avoid this. We can use the interaction diagram. We can assume the percentage of steel, we can assume the cross section, and check the column from the safety point of view. Now this is the design steps. Analysis using the SP16. Load on the column is known to us. Grade of concrete, grade of steel, unsupported length or effective length of the column, end condition, MUX is known and MUY is known, and required cross section, ASC and ASC. Now first of all, we have assumed the size of the column, then percentage of the steel and its distribution. Generally in case of biaxial column, we have considered equal reinforcement provided on all the four sides. Then calculate PUZ, that is the column is subjected to the pure load. There is no moment along X or Y direction. This is the formula. PUZ is equal to 0.45 FCK into AC, gross area of concrete, plus 0.75 FY into ASC, that is the area of steel provided longitudinally. Then calculate PU by PUZ. This is the ratio. PU is the external load and PUZ is the column subjected to the purely axial load. This ratio. Then step number 4, calculate MUX1. Now MUX1 is related with the moment when we consider Pu is 0 and MUY is 0. And that's why using the interaction diagram, bisecting the depth of the column, that is bending about x axis, we can use this parameter, calculate the effective cover divided by D ratio, calculate percentage of steel divided by FCK, calculate Pu by FCK BD, and from this we can find out the Mu by FCK BD. And here, as we can say that Pu is 0 and MUY is 0, that's why this is MUX1. So MUX1 is equal to some constant we are getting multiplied by FCK into BD square, because MUX divided by FCK BD square is equal to that value from the SP16 chart. Now then calculate MUY1. Now MUY1 is related with the moment if we consider Pu is 0 and MUX is also 0. That is the bisecting the width of the column, that is bending about Y axis. Calculate again, repeat the same procedure. This is same. DC dash by B. Here we have considered the least lateral dimension bisecting the width of the column. In case of bisecting depth of column, this is capital D. And rest of the thing is same. Again we can from the chart we are getting MUY1, and this MUY1 is equal to this constant into FCK BD square. Then we can check. MUX is the bending moment externally applied. MUX1 when we consider Pu is 0 and MUY is 0. In that case we get the MUX1. Then alpha n is the is related with the Pu by Puz ratio. We can take the alpha n power plus MUY divided by MUY1 into the power an. This value should be less than or equal to 1. Then whatever we have assumed cross section and the percentage of steel, it is okay. That means the design of biaxial column is okay. Otherwise increase the percentage of steel or cross section of the column. Then calculate PBD, that is the percentage of steel, and calculate the ASC. Then calculate the lateral ties and reinforcement detail. Now this is about the design of the biaxial column. Now we have taken one problem. We have used the same plan which is used for the axial loaded column and the uniaxial column. Here we have designed the column at A, corner column. Design the RC short column at A as shown in line plan of G+2 story building for the same data. Now this is the column A which is connected with the beam AB, and we can see that this is A to C. These are the two beams orthogonally connected at point A, and that's why the moment developed due to this beam AB is unbalanced and moment developed due to the beam AC, that is also unbalanced. This is bisecting the depth, that's why this is x axis mu x, and bisecting the width, that's why this is the mu y. So again, calculation of the load, again this is similar to the previous lecture. We can find out the load on the roof slab, load of the floor slab, then self weight of the beam, self weight of the wall, self weight of the column, and the total load on the column. At the top column, then first floor, then second floor, and the ground floor, and the below the plane. Then B1 is the self weight. Again repeat the same procedure. B1 is related with the self weight load on the beam. B1, this is the self weight of the beam plus load from the slab S1, which is a trapezoidal. That's why we can say that the load on the slab multiplied by LEX, actually it is 6 meter by 4 meter. That's why this is 4 meter, and beta is the ratio of Ly by Lx. So 1.5 divided by 2 plus 1.5 plus 1 bracket complete, and then load from the wall. We are getting the WB1 is equal to 30.675. Similarly, WB2 we get the 29.22, and these are the two beams. Then load on the column. Load, as we have discussed in the previous lecture, we can take the load from the top column if any, plus shear, that is the support reaction from the beam B1 and B2. Two beams are there, plus self weight of column. This is related with the top column 145.03, intermediate column, that is the first floor 290.05, ground floor it is 435, and the below the ground level it is 519.475 kilonewton. This load is needed for the design of footing. Now step number 1, design column below the ground level. The load on the column is 519.475. That's why the design load is equal to 1.5 times PC. Therefore it is 779.21. That means it is 780. Then assume the cross section of the column, say 300 by 500. Check the slenderness ratio, LE by least lateral dimension. Here we have considered the below the ground level, plinth level. That's why we have take this is unsupported length multiplied by 1.2, because the footing is free. So 1.2 times L, that is 1.2 times this total distance is not 3 meter. It is below the ground level up to the bottom of the footing. That's why it is 1.8. So 1.8 into 1.2 divided by 300, it is 7.2, which is less than 12. That's why no problem, it is designed as a short column. Now step number 4, minimum eccentricity. Repeat the same procedure. L by 500 plus D by 30 or 20 mm, whichever is less. Then it is 20.26. So we have take 20.26. Then mu x is equal to Ex minimum multiplied by Pu. We get the minimum is moment along the x direction. Similarly, we get the minimum moment along the y direction after finding the Ey minimum. Here 13.60 and 20. That's why we get the 20. So it is 15.58. Now the actual moment on the column, we have find out this moment, fixed moment, that is equal to W LE square divided by 12. Of course it is minus. So 63.89 WB, another B, WB LE square divided by 12. Load is already calculated. Span is 5 meter and 4 meter. So we get the both fixed moments. Now this moment will be distributed using the stiffness. Moment on the column depending on the connected beam. Mx along x direction, that is bisecting the depth. Kc, that is the stiffness of column divided by summation of Kc. Here beam is connected with the two column. That's why we can take the contribution is 50%, Kb by 2. So Kb1 by 2 plus Kb2 by 2 plus Kc, we get the summation of K, and Mf B1 is related with the x1 and Mf B2 is related with the y. So we get the mu x is equal to 68.15, that is the design moment, and similarly mu y is equal to 27.70. Here mu y is greater than mu x minimum, mu x is greater than mu x minimum. It is 68.14 and MUX minimum using the minimum eccentricity is 15.78. We can take the maximum. That's why it is 68.14 along x direction and 27.70 along the y direction. So column is designed as a biaxial column subjected to the MUX and MUY. Then assume the cross section of the column. As we have already assumed percentage of steel, we can take 0.8 to 4%, and that's why here we have assumed 2%, and ASC is equal to 2 by 100 multiplied by AG. Assume the reinforcement equally distributed along all the four sides because bisecting the column x direction and y direction. So calculate PUZ using the same formula as we discussed in previous lecture. PUZ is equal to, we get 2256.75 kilonewton if column subjected to purely axial load. Now calculate PU by PUZ. PU is the external load and PUZ is the column subjected to only pure load. So 779 or 780 divided by 2256.75, we get 0.345. Then we can find out the power, that is alpha n. U by PUZ is equal to 0.2 and 0.8. If it is less than or equal to 0.2, alpha n is equal to 1, and if it is PU by PUZ 0.8 or greater, then its value is 2, and in between these two there is a linear variation. That's why using the interpolation we can find out the alpha n for PU by PUZ 0.345. Alpha n is equal to 1.24. This is the power. Now calculate the MUX1. Bisecting the depth of the column, we can find out this ratio, and from the charts given in SP16 we can find out the value of MU by MUX1, and this MUX1 is equal to 0.14. So we get the MUX1 is equal to 210 kilonewton meter from the charts. Similarly, we can find out the MUY1 using the same data, except that here DC dash by B is equal to 50 by 300. In the previous slide it is 50 divided by 500. That's why it is 0.167, and that's why we use the two charts. One is the 0.15 and second is the 0.20, and after interpolation we get the MUY1 is equal to 0.08 into this. FCK is known to us, B is also known, and D is also known. That's why it is 72 kilonewton meter. So step number 6, check MUX, that is 68.14. This is the calculated bending moment, and this is the MUX1 from the charts 210, and alpha n depending on the PU by PUZ. It is 1.24. Again MUY, that is 27.17 divided by MUY1 from the chart 72, and power is 1.24. This value is 0.545, which is less than 1. That's what say. Whatever we have assumed the cross section and the steel, it is okay. Then calculate ASC. ASC is equal to percentage is, we have considered 2% of the total cross section. That's why it is 3000 mm square. Assume 25 mm diameter as a longitudinal reinforcement and find out the numbers. It is 6.11. So we can provide, instead of 8 bars, we can provide 4 bars of 25 plus 4 bars of 20 as a longitudinal reinforcement, so that the ASC provided is 3281. Requirement is 3000. That's why okay. Then lateral reinforcement, repeat the same procedure. Phi minimum is equal to 1/4 of phi maximum. Here we use the two types of bars, 20 and 25. Phi max is 25, so it is 6.28. So we have provided the 8 mm bar. Spacing for lateral ties, least lateral dimension is equal to 300. 16 multiplied by, here we have considered the phi minimum, that is 20. So it is 320, and third is the 300 mm, whichever is less. So 300 is the minimum. So provide 8 mm as a lateral ties, about 300 mm center to center throughout the length of the column. This is the design of the column. Now for the design of isolated footing, again we know the data, that is the column below the ground level, it is 519.475 kilonewton, and PUC is equal to, that is the maximum load, it is 780 kilonewton. MUX is equal to 1.5 times this, that is 68.14, and MUY is equal to 41.44 kilonewton meter, which is less than 15.58 MUY minimum. Size of the column we have considered 300 by 500. ESC is equal to 3000. It is already calculated, and we have provided the 4 of 25 and 4 of 20 as a main reinforcement, longitudinal reinforcement, and 8 mm at 300 center to center as lateral tie. This is the data taken from the column. Now, design of the footing, we can use the grade of the concrete. It is already known to us, 20. Grade of steel Fe415, shape bearing capacity 200 kilonewton per meter square, not mm square. So ASC is equal to 3000 mm square. This is known. So required size of the footing, depth of the footing, ASTX and ASTY. Now first step is calculate the load on footing, that is equal to, here we have used the limit state of serviceability. This is the only one RCC member which is used for design limit state of serviceability and not the limit state of collapse. So we have considered only working load, that is 300, that is we have considered load on the column is equal to actual load plus self weight is considered as 10%. So we get the total load is equal to now the interesting thing, if footing subjected to the axial load with the moments, then either footing can be designed as eccentric footing with trapezoidal distribution of upward pressure distribution, which again increase the complexity in the analysis and design. So we can use another alternative method. Load on the column is increased by 50% and design the footing subjected to axial load. As due to increase in cross section of the footing, bending moment, balance and upward pressure distribution is rectangular instead of the trapezoidal. So we can take the load on the column is equal to, actually it is 520. We have increased by 50% and that's why it is 780 kilonewton. We can use this load for the design of the footing. Instead of 520, we have considered 780 kilonewton. Why we have used, that will be discussed in the next slide. Now in this slide here it is observed that actually the moment, because of the Ex, this distance is LF by 2 plus Ex and this distance is LF by 2 minus Ex, and that's why the pressure distribution below the footing is trapezoidal, not rectangular, and that's why there is a complexity in the design. Similarly, along the y-axis, repeat the same procedure. This is EY, that means the moment column is not exactly at the center. So we have again there is a trapezoidal load along the y-axis also, and that's why instead of this we have increased the load and neglect the moment. And because of the increasing the load, the area of footing is definitely increased, and due to increase in the area of footing, we can say that this check is easily satisfied. What is check? LF, that is the length of the footing, should be greater than or equal to 6 times the Ex, or width of the footing should be greater than or equal to 6 times of Ey. If this is satisfied, then we can say that our footing is designed as a subjected to only axial load. So in our problem, we have increased the load by 50% and repeat the same procedure. Actually, this is related with the upward pressure along the x direction, along the y direction. P by A due to axial load, and due to moment, this is P by Z, and Z is equal to LF into BF square by 6, and that's why we get the P by A 1 plus minus 6E divided by BF. Q1 should not exceed the shape bearing capacity and not 0 on the another side. When we get negative value, if this value is more than 1, when it is more than 1, if it is more, BF is less than 6 more than 6 times of E. This is related with the pressure distribution. Now step number 2, here we have considered 1.1 times the actual load. Now this actual load is already increased by 50%. This is, I have considered, assume this is the actual load or working load for the design of footing without moment. So 780 instead of 520, and it is 1.1 because 10% is the self weight of footing. So requirement of the area is increased 4.29 meters square. Area of footing is equal to LF by BF. Again repeat the same procedure. We have assume the equal offset on both the sides, and that's why LF is equal to BF minus B plus D. So we get the LF is equal to BF plus 0.2, and from equation number 1 and 2 we get the dimensions. LF is equal to 2.2 meter and BF is equal to 2 meter. So area is 4.41 meter square. Then calculate the net upward pressure. Q1 is equal to 1.5 times PC divided by area of footing provided. So net upward pressure from the soil to the footing is uniform, that is 265.91 kilonewton per meter square instead of trapezoidal. Now again calculate the maximum bending moment. For maximum bending moment we have take the critical section at the face of the column, and here we get the mu x using the same formula 192.12 and mu y using the same formula which has already discussed in the previous lecture 210.33. Then once we know the mu x mu y, we can find out the depth. For the balance section we know that it is under root of mu x divided by ru max multiplied by b. Now here we have considered the b dash because this is the sloped footing, trapezoidal footing. That's why to place the centering it is necessary to give the some offset. 50 mm is considered, and that's why we have take b dash is equal to b plus 2 times of e, and e is assumed as 50 mm. So we get the dx is equal to 417 and dy is equal to 357. Now take the maximum value. D is equal to 417, say 420, and depth of the footing is equal to overall depth of the footing is equal to effective depth plus DC dash. Here again DC dash is equal to 50 plus, assume the diameter is 10 mm, 10 by 2 55, so we get the 475 mm. But from the shear point of view, bending moment as compared to the bending moment, shear is more critical. So instead of 475 we have increased the depth, it is 555, so df is equal to 500 mm. Instead of 475 we have taken the higher depth, and at the edge of the footing, end of the footing, it is 150 mm as per IS 456. Now check for one way shear. Critical section is taken at a distance of d from the face of the column. Again we have considered dy is generally less than dx, so we have considered the y axis is critical. Df is equal to 500 mm. Then we can find out this value. This is x1, and then this distance from point this to this, that is d1. Repeat the same procedure, and we can find out this depth from the similarity of the triangle. Now we can find out the value of capital D1 and small d1. Then nominal shear stress is equal to Vu1 is equal to Qu multiplied by LF into x1. So Vu1 is equal to 204.75. Then nominal shear stress is equal to Vu1 divided by V1 into D1, effective depth at the critical section. Then tau Vn is equal to 0.521 Newton per mm square. Assume the percentage of steel. Here in case of footing we have take the more percent, but it is less than Pt max. So we can consider 0.65%. So from the table number 19, page number 73, we get the tau c value 0.522 depending on the grade of concrete, and Ks is equal to 1.1. So tau Vu1 is less than Ks times tau c. It is 0.521, that is the tau V1. This is tau V1, and Ks is equal to 1.1 into 0.522. That's why it is greater. So the section is safe. That means the depth of the footing is okay from the one way shear. Now from the two way shear means the column may be punched because of the axial load transferred to the soil or the large area. That's why this portion may be punched. And so in case of two way shear, we have take the critical section from both the sides at a distance of d by 2 from the face of the column, from this side and this side. That's why this portion may be punched in the footing. So again we can find out the A2. Now this is A2. This is A2 is equal to B plus, this is D by 2. This is D by 2. So B plus D, and B2 is equal to, this is capital D plus D by 2 plus D by 2. So we get the A2 and B2, and X2 is equal to this distance. Again repeat the same procedure. We get the value of X2. Then perimeter is equal to 2 times of A2 plus B2, and again similarity of triangle we can find out this D2. Now VU2, that is the two-way shear, is equal to QU multiplied by area of footing LF by BF minus A2 by B2. This is the section. So VU2 is equal to 957.27 kilonewton. Then tau V2 is equal to VU2 divided by perimeter into effective depth at the critical section D2. So tau V2 is equal to 0.698. Clause number 30.6.3, page number 58 and 59. For flat slab consideration as per IS 456-2000, tau C is equal to 0.25 root FCK for the limit set method, and tau C is equal to 0.25 into grade of concrete is 20, so it is 1.18. Ks is equal to 0.5 plus beta, and beta is equal to B by D for the column. It is 0.60, so it is 1.1, which is less than 1, so we can take Ks is equal to 1. So the VU2, which is 0.698, and tau C is 1.118, which is greater, so we can say that it is safe. That means the depth of the footing is safe. Therefore, we have finalized the size of footing LF by BF by DF, 2.2 meter by 2 meter by 0.555. This is the final size of the footing. Now calculate the AST. Repeat the same procedure using the steel formula. You can find out the ASTX, assume the diameter at 10 mm, then find out the numbers or spacing. Now for the numbers is equal to AST divided by area of 1 bar, 11.48, we can provide the 12 bars. Provide 12 10 mm diameter, that is spacing is equal to BF divided by, that means the width of the footing divided by number. So it is 183.33. We can provide 10 mm at 180 mm center to center. This is the ASTY. Along Y direction we can provide the 12 numbers of 10 mm diameter using the same procedure. Then we can check this AST in the central bandwidth, then check safe transfer of load from the column base. Repeat the same procedure, and last, which is very important, that is the actual bearing pressure should be less than or equal to the permissible bearing pressure. Now this PU by BD should be less than or equal to 0.45 FCK into under root of A1 by A2, which is 2. So it is 7.2, permissible is 18, and actually 7.2, that's why it is safe. Now the development length similar to the previous problem, and this is the reinforcement detail. Now here this is LD on tension side, and this is the LD on compression side, and that's why we can say that this bar is called as the dowel bars. Now this is the reinforcement detail. This is the reinforcement along X direction, this is the reinforcement along the Y direction. And thank you very much.